What do you think was Putin's strategy behind it? Why did he deport Ukrainian children? Is it because of the demographic crisis in Russia, for example?
No, I don't think so. That it is has any relevance to the demographic crisis. I would say that this is another attempt by Russia to use our kids as an instrument of aggressive policy towards Ukrainian.
One of the most appalling atrocities committed by Vladimir Putin has been the abduction of Ukrainian children. Thousands of boys and girls, some just babies, have been separated from their families and then transferred to Russian orphanages or foster families. As ceasefire talks unfold, Ukraine is demanding their return. Today, I'm speaking with Mariana Betsa, Ukraine's Deputy Foreign Minister, who is in London to give evidence on the abduction of Ukrainian children. Thank you for joining us today, Mariana. Moscow say they have transferred over 700,000 Ukrainian children to Russia. What is the real number?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a great honor, and I'm here in London with the purpose of lobbying the issue of the return of Ukrainian children. It is very high on our agenda, and this is one of the most critical issues that should be involved in all peace talks or any negotiations. The figures, though, are much higher. In general, 1.6 million Ukrainian kids are in temporarily occupied territories, including in Crimea, and around 20,000 Ukrainian children have been deported by Russia in grave breach of international law. But of course, this figure rises every day because as we speak with you, there are ongoing deportations. And for Ukraine, it's critical that every child is brought home and every child is reunited with their family.
Does Ukraine know the exact locations of these children, especially those who were deported to Russia?
You know, it's a very complex issue. The President of Ukraine launched an initiative, Bring Kids Back UA, which involves governmental and non-governmental sectors, and definitely is aimed at locating, identifying, and also trying to reintegrate those children back in Ukraine. It's very difficult to trace these children for many reasons. First and foremost, Russia abducts children, grave breach of international law, Geneva Conventions, and deports them to Russia. Russia gives them Russian citizenship. Russia changes or alters their names, gives them their different passports, and very often, very small special cases, they're being adopted by Russian families. Of course, it's so-called adopted because it is in breach with international norms. Therefore, it's very difficult to verify these children. But we're doing our best. We're working with many international partners, but also in terms of our law enforcement authorities, trying to identify them, locate them, rescue them, and bring them home.
Last month, Trump's administration has cut the funding for the researchers who were busy locating those children. And some researchers said that all of the data that they gathered have been deleted. What do you know about it?
I do hope that the data will be forwarded to Ukraine. It is crucial for accountability. As Ukraine stated on numerous occasions, Ukraine wants peace, but not just any peace. We need just peace, and we need full responsibility and accountability of Russia for the crimes of aggression, genocide, and war crimes. So this data, which had the Yale laboratory, is still there, and we do hope that it will be transferred to Ukraine for further investigations and bringing those war criminals to justice.
But are there negotiations about it with Trump's administration, or you just hope that they will do it?
Well, we have placed this issue that we need this data, and I hope that they will be transferred to us.
Volodymyr Zelensky says that returning Ukrainian children from Russia is his red line for the peace talks, and if Russia wants the war to end, then all of the children must return. After the talks in Saudi Arabia, do we know what is Russia's position on this issue?
Well, it's important what is our position on this issue. Ukraine needs all children back home, and this is a clear position of President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, of the government of Ukraine, of everyone involved in this process. This is a humanitarian issue. Our children should not be a political bargain in any negotiations. The issue of return should be involved in any peace talks, diplomatic talks, negotiations, meetings. And we raised this issue during the first meeting in Jeddah at the beginning of March and during the second technical meeting, which took place a few days ago. This is critical, and we urge all countries, and especially, of course, the UK for your support in exerting pressure on Russia to return these kids.
The US said that in the statement published after the meeting with Ukraine that they support returning Ukrainian children, but did they actually share with Ukraine what they talked about with Russia on this topic? Whether Russia agrees or not?
We are in contact with our US partners, and this issue was highlighted as of utmost urgency for Ukraine, and the US partners agreed that this is extremely important that they are returned.
Also, another red line for Ukraine is all-for-all prisoner exchange. Do we have any progress in that topic?
As you see, we had recently a prisoners release or swap, and 175 Ukrainian prisoners of war were returned. There are two tracks. One track is prisoners of war and illegally detained persons, civilians, and second track, children. And we are working on all these tracks because we need to return prisoners of war, we need to return illegally detained civilians, but we need also to return children. The issue of children is extremely important because many of them are literally from orphanages, many of them are of very small age, and towards many of them, Russia tries to erase identity. They're not adults who can protest, who can definitely keep the memories what Ukraine was. They are trying to erase their identity. And Russification, know Ukrainian language, giving Russian names, learning Russian language, learning Russian history, even singing Russian anthems. These kids are so brainwashed by Russia that it is very difficult for them not only to return, but also to reintegrate into the society, because they are children of different age. And we should understand that this is the most vulnerable group. This is the most vulnerable group because many of them are very small, and they may not remember who their parents are or what Ukraine is. But it is important that we return them because many parents, it's a human disaster when your kid is taken away by force by another country or any terrorist and brought to another country.
What do you think was Putin's strategy behind it? Why did he deport Ukrainian children? Is it because of the demographic crisis in Russia, for example?
No, I don't think so, that it is has any relevance to the demographic crisis. I would say that this is another attempt by Russia to use our kids as an instrument of aggressive policy towards Ukrainian. And it has been done in the past. Actual aggression started in 2014, and the deportation started slowly with the occupied Crimea and with occupied Donbass, some part of Donbass. But of course, the scale of it was much higher from 2022 when Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The goal of Russia hasn't changed: to destroy Ukraine as a country and to destroy Ukraine as a nation. And that's why children are important, because children is an important element of the nation. And that's why Russia tries to impose Russian citizenship, to raise Ukrainian identity. This is also, as I said, a very cynical step from Russia, but this is an instrument of war that they use against Ukraine.
2 years ago, I actually interviewed one boy who was taken from the Kherson region from his parents, and he was moved to the re-educational camp in Crimea. And he told me that one of the girls in the camp was sexually assaulted by one of the Russian tutors. Does Ukraine have any evidence to such cases?
Absolutely. We do have cases when children confessed that they were either raped or other forms of sexual violence was used. It's terrible. It's a heinous crime. It's a war crime. It's genocide against Ukrainian children. And we do collect this information. Our competent authorities and prosecutors' office are working on those cases that we know.
The International Criminal Court issued the arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin for the abduction of Ukrainian children. Do you think Russia could demand that this arrest warrant is withdrawn during the final peace agreement, and is it possible at all?
Well, I would say the arrest warrant is there. It's part of the international legal mechanism. We should not think what Russia will or will not demand. we should force Russia to peace, and we should exert more pressure on Russia to achieve this peace for Ukraine, to get out from Ukraine, but also to return all the children. I would not like to speculate whether it is possible or not to renounce any warrant. It is there, it is valid, it is in force, and it must be implemented, but by all ICC participating states.
I want to ask a question about the partial ceasefire agreement, and when does it actually start? Because Moscow says it started 1 week ago. Volodymyr Zelensky says it started yesterday. So, what's happening?
The main thing is not to fall into Russian propaganda. They may say whatever they want. They manipulate with information. We know what Russian propaganda, hybrid warfare means. Russia lies on an industrial scale. The first truce in the sky and truce in the sea was proposed by Ukraine at the first meeting in Jeddah to the US administration, to the US colleagues. And then we agreed for the ceasefire for 30 days, if Russia agrees to it. But Russia started putting conditions, while Ukraine unconditionally agreed to ceasefire 3 weeks ago, and Russia started putting conditions. What was achieved the other days, it was the ceasefire in terms of freedom of navigation, ceasefire at the sea, and of course this is the ceasefire in terms of energy objects. Ukraine again showed its full commitment to implement its commitments to peace, again showed its willingness to be committed to peace, but we haven't seen any steps from Russia. Russia keeps on bombing Ukraine and killing civilians every single day. And this next few days will be critical, so they will define what are true actions by Russia.
Why wasn't the civilian infrastructure included in that partial ceasefire deal on the energy infrastructure?
Well, I would say that, any negotiations or any talks or meetings, they're quite complicated in many ways. And we agreed for what was possible to agree, where we found consensus. And we definitely think that this is a good starting point to move forward with our US colleagues and all European allies. And definitely we need more weapons. I mean, it's with regard to our peace, we need more weapons to Ukraine. We need more sanctions on Russia. We need Russia's accountability for its actions before International Criminal Court, International Court of Justice, and the future Special Tribunal for the Crime of Aggression. So it's in overall efforts to achieve peace. There are a number of issues which Ukraine remains committed to, and these are our red lines. And they're very well known. Ukraine needs more weapons, air defense to protect our civilians, nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine, no territorial compromises, all prisoners of war, illegally detained persons and children should be returned to Ukraine. There should be just peace, and there should be accountability of Russia for this heinous crime. And of course, there should be security guarantees for Ukraine that this crime will not be repeated.
Dmytro Litvin, Zelensky communication advisor, said that Russia already hit energy facilities 8 times since the ceasefire was agreed. What is Ukraine going to do with this information? Are they gathering evidence?
Well, if Russia attacks us, we will respond. It's very clear. It's our right. We are defending ourselves. We are exercising our right to self-defense in accordance with Article 51 of the UN Charter.
But is it being communicated with the US, like, look, this ceasefire is not working, Russia is...
Of course. I mean, I think the whole world sees that Russia bombs Ukraine every day. Civilian infrastructure, civilians, peaceful children. 3 days ago, a child was killed in Kiev itself. And this family, the father and the child who were killed in their beds, sleeping peaceful, they were running from the war from Zaporizhia region, finding refuge in Kiev, and they were killed by Russia. So, of course, this information is well known to all our partners, all our colleagues, and this is the true face and the true answer of Russia to peace. They don't want peace. They want war, and they need war. It's obvious, and their goal hasn't changed to destroy Ukraine.
What can you say about the progress in bringing together the coalition of the willing, and how can you comment Keir Starmer's efforts to do it?
Oh, we commend the UK and French leadership. It's truly remarkable in terms of the coalition of the willing, in terms of of course, UK support, military, political, humanitarian, financial, security assistance. UK has been a staunchest support and ally of Ukraine. We are very grateful to the Prime Minister of UK and also to all British people. We need to have consolidated and united front against Russia. And we need to stay united in the face of this aggression, especially now in this very critical juncture.
But is there any progress about sending the peacekeeping troops to Ukraine?
It's not the right word to say peacekeeping. We say boots on the ground. And this modality is a bit discussed, and the summit will take place in Paris tomorrow. So it is on the agenda. Again, we need the boots on the ground in Ukraine. It is our security guarantee. The best security guarantee is NATO membership, and it is still on the agenda. But before we become a member of the UN, of the NATO, we need boots on the ground. We need military contingent. We need the protection, including, of course, necessary air defense. We need the guarantee that Russia will not repeat aggression again.
Why don't you like to use the phrase in peacekeeping forces?
I don't think it's a correct terminology. We have the UN missions in support of peace. I think the peacekeepers is not a real correct legal terminology in this regard.